News of the reactor incident spread across the galaxy faster than light speed. 1 week after Tajin's survival, the Galactic Research Institute's meeting room was packed with reporters from 100 different species. Sangme, the human diplomat sent from Earth, stood at the front of the room. Her job was to handle the political mess caused by one human surviving something that should have killed him. Yes, humans can survive high radiation, she explained to the alien reporters. No, we're not invincible. We just adapt well. A reporter with tentacles raised 3 of them. Is it true that the human engineer didn't follow safety protocols? Before Sangme could answer, Duha floated forward. His blue skin glowed with confidence, very different from his usual careful manner. Engineer Tajin created new protocols, Duha said. Better ones. He showed us that too much safety can sometimes be dangerous. In the back of the room, Jai-yun was giving her own interview. Her research paper about human survival abilities had become the most read scientific article in the galaxy. Humans don't just ignore danger, she explained, all 4 eyes bright with excitement. They understand it. They use it. It's amazing. Meanwhile, in the reactor control room, Tajin was back at work. His burns had healed faster than anyone expected. Haynul's hologram followed him as he checked the new containment field settings. 17 engineering schools have requested your accident report, Haynul said. They want to understand how you survived. Tajin smiled. Send them the technical details, but tell them the most important part wasn't the engineering. What was it? Not being afraid to try impossible things. The facility's doors opened, and a group of alien engineers walked in. They looked nervous, but determined. These were the few who hadn't quit, the ones who wanted to learn. Teach us, one of them said simply. Back in the meeting room, a new commotion was starting. A delegation of Proxinians, Yumgi species, had arrived with an unusual request. We want human engineers to inspect all our reactor facilities, their leader announced. Our safety protocols, perhaps they are too safe. Sangme looked surprised. The Proxinians were famous for being extremely careful. You want humans to show you how to work with dangerous materials. We want to learn balance, the Proxinian leader said, like your engineer Tajin showed us. Jai-yun rushed over, her tablet ready to record this historic moment. First time in galactic history, a species asking to learn human methods. Duha's third eye was blinking rapidly, a sign of deep thought. Perhaps we all need to change how we think about danger. The news screens around the room showed scenes from across the galaxy. Alien engineering schools were adding human safety approaches to their courses. Reactor facilities were being redesigned with both alien and human users in mind. Some species were even requesting human teachers for their engineering programs. It's not just about the technology, Sangme explained to the reporters. It's about understanding different ways of thinking. In the reactor room, Tajin was showing his small group of alien students how to feel the reactor's energy patterns, how to understand danger instead of just avoiding it. Humans have a saying, he told them. Knowledge is power. The more you understand something dangerous, the less power it has over you. Haynul's hologram washed with interest. Your approach to danger is changing how the galaxy thinks, Engineer Tajin. Good, Tajin said, because there are bigger challenges coming. Things that will need both human courage and alien wisdom to solve. As if to prove his point, alerts began flashing on the main screen. A problem was developing in another part of the facility. The alien engineers tensed up, ready to run. But Tajin smiled. Now, he said, let me show you how humans handle this. And for the first time, instead of running away, the aliens moved forward with him, ready to learn a new way of facing danger. Tajin stood at the entrance of the Galactic Research Institute, his old work boots looking out of place against the shiny metal floor. He held his Earth certification papers in one hand and a beaten-up tool bag in the other. The massive fusion reactor core hummed behind the thick walls, making the air buzz with energy. Two aliens walked toward him. The first one, Duha, had smooth blue skin that sparkled under the lights. As head engineer of the facility, he moved with careful, measured steps. Behind him came Yumgai, the safety officer, whose long neck and gray scales made him look like he was always nervous. "Human Tajin," Duha said, checking his datapad. "Your radiation exposure levels from Earth are concerning." His third eye blinked rapidly. Tajin smiled. "Those are normal for human nuclear engineers. We can handle more radiation than most species." Yumgi's scales turned a lighter shade of gray. "But the readings show you've been exposed to levels that would kill a Proximian like me in minutes. That's why they hired me," Tajin said, patting his tool bag. "Human engineers can work in conditions others find too dangerous." Duha led them through the facility. The corridors were built for various alien species, some sections tall enough for the giant Centaurians, others narrow for the smaller races. They passed groups of alien engineers who stopped and stared at Tajin. Some whispered to each other, others quickly moved away. The reactor control room was massive. Screens covered the walls, showing readings in different alien languages. Tajin noticed that one small screen in the corner displayed numbers in Korean. Someone had thought about making him feel welcome. "This is Hae-Nul," Duha said, pointing to a hologram that appeared in the center of the room. It showed the face of a young Korean person, neither male nor female. "Our eye assistant. We gave it a Korean personality matrix to help you adjust." "Hello, Engineer Tajin," Hae-Nul said with a slight bow. "I look forward to working with Earth's nuclear technology expert." Tajin set his tool bag down and walked to the main viewport. Through the reinforced windows, he could see the reactor core. It was beautiful, a perfect sphere of contained plasma, burning brighter than a star. The alien design was different from Earth's reactors, but he could already spot ways to improve it. "Your first task," Duha said, "is to observe our maintenance procedures. You are not to touch anything without supervision." His third eye narrowed. "Our safety protocols are very strict." Tajin watched as a team of alien engineers prepared to check the cooling systems. They put on protective suits that covered their entire bodies. Each movement was slow and carefully planned. It would take them hours to do a simple inspection. He thought about how he and his human colleagues would do this job back on Earth. Quick, efficient, using their natural radiation resistance to get things done faster. But he kept quiet. There would be time to show them a better way. "Unusual energy spike detected in Sector 7, Hae-Nul announced suddenly. The aliens in the room froze. Tajin looked at the readings. On Earth, this would be routine. But the alien engineers were already backing away from their stations. "Should we shut down the sector?" Yumgai asked, his scales now almost white with worry. "No need," Tajin said calmly. "This is normal for a reactor of this size. Look." He pointed to the pattern in the energy waves. "It's just the plasma adjusting itself. On Earth, we see this every day." The aliens stared at him in shock. Duha's blue skin had turned slightly purple. "You've seen this before and survived." "Many times." Tajin smiled again. "This is why humans are good at this job. We don't just survive these things. We understand them." As the energy spike settled back to normal levels, Tajin could see the aliens looking at him differently. There was fear there, yes, but also curiosity. They had never worked with a Deathworlder before. They didn't know that what they saw as dangerous, humans saw as ordinary. Hae-Nul's hologram flickered. Engineer Tajin's heart rate remained normal throughout the event. Fascinating. It was going to be an interesting assignment. The reactor core glowed an angry red instead of its usual calm blue. Tajin stood at the observation window, watching energy patterns that he had never seen before. Behind him, alarms blared through the facility's speakers. Core temperature rising. Hae-Nul's voice was louder than usual. Containment field strength dropping to dangerous levels. Duha's blue skin had turned almost white. How bad is it? The containment field is failing faster than any simulation predicted, the AI reported. Complete failure estimated in 17 minutes. Tajin watched as alien engineers ran from their stations. Even Yungai, usually calm despite his fears, was shaking so badly his scales were falling off. Start the evacuation, Duha ordered. All personnel must leave immediately. Jai-yun burst into the control room, all four eyes wide with excitement despite the danger. This is unprecedented. No reactor of this design has ever had a total containment failure. And no one will survive to study it if we don't leave now, Yungai said, pulling her toward the door. But Tajin wasn't moving. He stood at his station, quickly reading through the reactor's emergency protocols on his screen. The aliens had planned for everything, except what to do when all their plans failed. Tajin, Duha called from the doorway. We must go. Even a human cannot survive a core explosion. You go, Tajin said calmly. I have an idea. Haenul's hologram flickered next to him. Engineer Tajin, the radiation levels near the core are already beyond fatal levels for all known species. Beyond fatal for them, Tajin said, pointing at the retreating aliens. But humans are different. How long can I work in there? The AI calculated quickly, based on human radiation resistance, 4 minutes before receiving a lethal dose. But the core will explode in 17 minutes. 4 minutes might be enough. Tajin opened his tool bag and pulled out something he had brought from Earth, a personal radiation shield made for human emergency workers. Jai-yun broke free from Yoongi's grip and ran back to the control room. You're going to attempt a repair. Now, this is amazing. This is insanity, Yoongi shouted. His scales were now a pale gray color that meant extreme fear. Duha looked torn between his duty as head engineer and his instinct to run. What are you planning to do? The containment field is failing because the power distribution is uneven, Tajin explained, checking his equipment. If I can reset the main field generators manually, we might save the reactor and the facility. Might. Duha's third eye blinked rapidly. The chance of success is better than zero, which is what we'll have if we all run. Tajin turned to Haenul. Can you keep the emergency systems running while I work? Yes, the AI said. But I must inform you that your plan has a 99.9% chance of failure, resulting in your death. Tajin smiled. Then I have a 0.1% chance of living. Better odds than some days I had back on Earth. The facility shook as another power surge hit the reactor. Warning lights flashed red across every screen. 15 minutes to containment failure, Haenul announced. Go, Tajin told the aliens. I need you clear of the radiation zone to work. Duha hesitated at the door. No one has ever survived radiation levels this high. Then I'll be the first, Tajin said, putting on his radiation suit. It wasn't designed for this level of exposure, but it would give him a few extra minutes. Jai-yun was still taking notes, even as Yoongi dragged her away. The human shows no sign of fear in the face of certain death. Remarkable. As the aliens finally left, Haenul's hologram watched Tajin check his tools one last time. Engineer Tajin. The AI said, your heart rate is elevated but within normal human stress parameters. Are all humans this calm before potentially fatal actions? No, Tajin said, walking toward the reactor core access door. We get scared too. We just don't let it stop us. The door opened, revealing the bright glow of the failing reactor core. The radiation meter on Tajin's suit immediately began screaming warnings. 4 minutes, he muttered to himself. Time to show them what humans can really do. 1 year after the reactor core explosion, the Galactic Research Institute held a special ceremony. The facility had become famous across the galaxy as the place where humans and aliens learned to work together. Tajin stood on the stage, looking at the mixed crowd of species before him. 1 year ago, he said, everyone thought surviving a reactor explosion was impossible. Now we know better. Not because humans are special, but because we learned to work together. In the front row, Duha's blue skin sparkled with pride. The head engineer now led the galaxy's first mixed-species emergency response team. Next to him sat Yungai, whose scales had developed a permanent blue tint, his species mark of wisdom. Jai-Yun bounced excitedly in her seat. Her research had created a new field of study: interspecies crisis management. Her 4 eyes watched as Ta-Jin unveiled the facility's new logo, a human hand, and various alien appendages working together. Our latest achievement, Ta-Jin continued, is something no one thought possible. Hey Newell, show them. The AI's hologram appeared, larger than ever. It displayed images of the facility's newest project, a reactor core that combined human intuition with alien precision. The first truly hybrid technology, Hey Newell announced proudly, designed by both humans and aliens, using the strengths of all species. In the crowd, young alien engineers sat next to their human mentors. They no longer showed fear when emergency alarms sounded. Instead, they showed curiosity and determination, traits they had learned from their human teachers. Remember the day I survived the explosion? Ta-Jin asked. That was just the beginning. Look at what we've done since then. Newell displayed more images. Humans teaching aliens how to handle dangerous materials. Aliens showing humans how to make their bold solutions safer. Teams of different species working together during emergencies, each contributing their unique strengths. Accident rates across all mixed-species facilities are down 95%, Hey Newell reported. Efficiency is up 200%. And most importantly, fear no longer controls our decisions. Duha floated onto the stage. When Ta-Jin first arrived, he said, his third eye bright with memory, I thought humans were reckless. Now I understand. They simply see possibilities where we see danger. Yoongi joined them, his scales glowing, and we helped them see dangers they might miss. Together, we are better than apart. Jai-Yun couldn't contain herself anymore. She jumped up, waving her tablet. The latest studies show that mixed teams solve problems 300% faster than single-species teams. We're making history. The crowd cheered, a strange but wonderful mix of human voices and alien sounds. In the back of the room, a group of new recruits watched with wonder. They were the next generation of engineers, coming from across the galaxy to learn the new way. But our work isn't finished, Ta-Jin said. There are still challenges ahead, new dangers to face, new impossibilities to overcome. As if on cue, Hey Newell's hologram flickered with an alert. Unknown energy signature detected in deep space. Traditional safety protocols indicate immediate retreat. The crowd didn't panic. Instead, humans and aliens looked at each other with shared excitement. This was what they had trained for. What are your orders, Director Ta-Jin? Hey Newell asked. Ta-Jin smiled at his mixed team of humans and aliens. They had come so far from the days when aliens ran from danger while humans rushed toward it. Now they moved together, balanced and strong. Assemble the research teams, he said, humans and aliens together. Let's go see what new impossible thing we can make possible. Duha's skin glowed brighter. Perhaps we'll all have to survive a reactor explosion this time. Maybe, Ta-Jin laughed. But this time, we'll do it together. As the teams began to prepare for their new mission, Jai-Yun started recording again. 1 year ago, aliens quit when they saw a human survive the impossible, she said into her tablet. Today, they stand beside humans, ready to face the impossible together. Hey Newell's hologram showed the unknown energy signature growing stronger. But in the Galactic Research Institute, nobody ran away. Instead, humans and aliens gathered their tools and headed toward the mystery, ready to turn one more impossible thing into just another solved problem. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what they had hoped for. Ta Jin's radiation suit melted at the edges as he worked. The reactor core pulsed with waves of deadly energy that made the air itself glow. Through the facility's cameras, the evacuated aliens watched in horror as the human engineer fought to save their facility. Core temperature critical, Hainul announced through the emergency speakers. 12 minutes to complete containment failure. In the emergency bunker, Duha, Yumgai, and Jia-Yun stared at the screens showing Ta Jin's progress. Other alien engineers huddled behind them, unable to look away. His radiation exposure is already triple the lethal dose for any known species, Jia-Yun said, her 4 eyes fixed on the readings. How is he still moving? Ta Jin reached the first field generator. His hands moved quickly, adjusting controls that were too hot to touch. The radiation had burned through his gloves, but he kept working. Hainul, he called out, his voice rough from the superheated air. Reroute power from sections 3 through 7. I need more energy for the containment reset. Warning, the eye replied. That action goes against all safety protocols. Do it anyway. The lights in the facility flickered as Hainul redirected power. In the bunker, the aliens watched their screens turn to emergency backup power. 9 minutes to containment failure, Hainul reported. Ta Jin moved to the second generator. His vision was starting to blur, but he forced himself to focus. The radiation meter on his suit had stopped working. Probably melted. The human's vital signs are approaching critical levels, Hainul told the watching aliens. Heart rate elevated, cellular damage extensive. He has to get out of there. Yoongae's scales had turned almost transparent with fear. But Ta Jin wasn't done. He reached the third and final generator just as another power surge rocked the facility. The reactor core flared bright enough to blind the cameras for a moment. 6 minutes to containment failure, Hainul announced. Engineer Ta Jin, you must evacuate now. Your radiation exposure is beyond survivable levels. Almost done. Ta Jin's fingers flew over the controls. Just need to synchronize the fields. In the bunker, Jia-Yun's tablet recorded everything. This will revolutionize our understanding of human endurance. No species has ever. A massive explosion cut her off. The reactor core had reached critical failure point ahead of schedule. The blast wave knocked out most of the facility's cameras. Containment field failing. Hainul's voice crackled through damaged speakers. Core explosion imminent. The aliens in the bunker watched in horror as the last working camera showed Ta Jin still at his post. Instead of running, he was finishing the field synchronization. Get out. Duha shouted at the screen. You'll die. But Ta Jin had learned something from his years working with reactors on Earth. Sometimes you had to be exactly where the explosion happened to survive it. The core detonated. White-hot plasma erupted from the reactor chamber. The blast vaporized everything in its path. The facility's reinforced walls cracked under the pressure. In the bunker, the aliens held each other as their world shook. The screens went dead. Hainul's systems crashed. For 5 long minutes, no one knew what had happened. Then, slowly, emergency power came back online. Hainul's hologram flickered back to life. Containment. Restored, the AI reported, sounding surprised. Field generators. Functioning. Reactor core. Stabilizing. But how? Duha asked, his third eye wide with shock. The synchronized reset created a feedback loop. Hainul explained. When the core exploded, the energy fed back into the containment field, strengthening it instead of breaking it. A solution that was not in any of our protocols. And Ta Jin? Yumgai asked quietly. The cameras came back online one by one. The reactor chamber was scorched black. Equipment had melted into twisted shapes. And there, in the middle of it all, slumped against the final generator's controls. Movement detected, Hainul announced. Life signs present. Engineer Ta Jin is alive. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the human pushed himself up. His radiation suit was gone, his clothes were burned, and he was bleeding from several wounds. But he was alive. Tajin looked up at the nearest camera and managed a weak smile. "Told you," he said hoarsely, "humans are good at surviving impossible things." Then he passed out. 2 weeks had passed since Tajin started working at the Galactic Research Institute. He sat in the break room, eating his lunch while an alien watched him. Her name was Jai-Yun, and she was an anthropologist studying human behavior. Unlike the engineers, she wasn't afraid to get close to him. "You walked into a high-radiation area yesterday without a full suit," she said, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Just wearing basic protection. Why?" Tajin swallowed his rice. "The radiation wasn't that bad. Humans can handle those levels for short periods." "Fascinating." Jai-Yun's purple skin glowed brighter. "Other species would die within minutes." The break room door opened, and Duha rushed in. "Tajin, you changed the maintenance schedule without approval." "Yes," Tajin said calmly. "The old schedule was too slow. We were wasting time." Duha's third eye twitched. "Safety protocols exist for a reason. You can't just." An alarm interrupted him. Haynul's hologram appeared in the center of the room. "Cooling system malfunction in Section 4. Standard procedure requires immediate evacuation." But Tajin was already moving. "It's just a stuck valve. I can fix it in 5 minutes." "Stop," Yun-Gai called from the doorway, his gray scales pale with fear. "The radiation in that section is above safe levels." "Safe for you, maybe," Tajin said, grabbing his tools. "Not dangerous for humans." Jai-Yun followed him, taking notes on her tablet. Duha and Yun-Gai watched through the safety glass as Tajin entered the radiation zone. He wore only basic protective gear, no full suit, no breathing apparatus. "Haynul," Duha called out, "what are the radiation readings?" "Current levels would be lethal to Centaurians in 2.3 minutes, the AI reported. Lethal to Proxinians in 1.7 minutes. "And for humans?" Jai-Yun asked excitedly. "Based on Earth safety standards, humans can work safely in these conditions for up to 30 minutes. Inside the radiation zone, Tajin found the problem quickly. The valve design was overcomplicated, typical alien engineering, trying to make everything completely safe. He pulled out his wrench and started working. Through his earpiece, he could hear the aliens arguing. "This violates 17 safety protocols," Yun-Gai was saying. "But he's fixing it faster than our standard procedures," Duha replied, sounding confused. "Look at his vital signs," Jai-Yun added. "Completely normal. Humans are incredible." Tajin smiled as he finished the repair. The cooling system hummed back to life. He walked out of the radiation zone, wiping sweat from his forehead. The aliens stared at him. A small crowd had gathered. Engineers, scientists, and maintenance workers from different species. Some looked horrified, others amazed. "Problem solved," Tajin said. "The valve's fixed." You just walked in there," a young engineer said. "Like it was nothing." "Because it was nothing." Tajin shrugged. "On Earth, we do repairs like this every day. Your safety standards are designed for species that can't handle radiation. Humans can." Jai-Yun was practically bouncing with excitement. "This confirms my theory. Humans don't just survive dangerous conditions, they treat them as normal." Duha looked at the maintenance schedules on his tablet. Perhaps some of our protocols need updating. "For human workers, I'll help you write new ones," Tajin offered. "We can make the reactor more efficient without sacrificing safety. We just need to account for different species' capabilities." Haynul's hologram appeared again, analyzing repair time. Engineer Tajin completed the task 82% faster than standard procedures, with 0 safety incidents. The aliens murmured among themselves. Tajin could see the change in their eyes. The fear was still there, but now mixed with respect. They were beginning to understand that what seemed impossible to them was just another day's work for a human. "I need to update my research papers," Jia said happily. "Human adaptability exceeds all our previous studies." As the crowd dispersed, Ta-Jin noticed Yumgai still watching him. The safety officer's scales had returned to their normal color. "Next time," Yumgai said quietly, "please at least tell us before you do something like that. My species doesn't handle surprises well." Ta-Jin nodded. He was here to improve things, not terrify his coworkers, even if their fear of radiation seemed silly to him. "I promise," he said, "no more surprises." But in the back of his mind, he wondered how they would react when they saw what humans could really do in an emergency. 3 days after the reactor core explosion, Ta-Jin woke up in the medical bay. The room was filled with alien doctors arguing about his treatment. Their voices were the first thing he heard. "His cells are repairing themselves," one doctor said, waving a scanner over Ta-Jin's body. "It's impossible. Humans are full of impossible things," Jia said from her corner. She hadn't left the medical bay since they'd brought Ta-Jin in. "Look at these readings. His body is actually adapting to the radiation exposure." Ta-Jin tried to sit up. His whole body hurt, but not as badly as he expected after being at the center of a reactor explosion. 4 different alien medical devices beeped in alarm. "You're awake." Jia rushed over, all 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "How do you feel? Can you describe your experience? What was it like at the center of the explosion?" "Jia," a familiar voice said, "let him breathe." Duha floated into the room. The head engineer looked different. His blue skin seemed darker, and his third eye was focused straight ahead. Behind him came Yumgai, who for once didn't look scared. "The facility," Ta-Jin said, his voice rough. "Did it survive?" "Thanks to you, yes." Duha placed a tablet on Ta-Jin's bed. "But we have a situation." The tablet showed hundreds of messages. They were all resignation letters from alien engineers throughout the facility. Some had already left. Others were planning to leave soon. "They say if one human can survive a core explosion," Yumgai explained, his scales a calm gray color, "then they don't want to work with reactor technology anymore. They think it's too dangerous." Ta-Jin tried to laugh, but it hurt too much. "They're quitting because I lived. Because you showed them what's really possible," Jia said excitedly. "My new research paper is already causing huge debates in the scientific community. Some species are reconsidering their whole approach to danger." Hainul's hologram appeared beside the bed. The AI looked different too. Its appearance had shifted to match Ta-Jin's current injured state, showing solidarity. "Engineer Ta-Jin," Hainul said, "I have analyzed the explosion data. Your solution was not just unorthodox, it was revolutionary. You used the explosion's own energy to strengthen the containment field." "It was something we discovered on Earth," Ta-Jin explained, slowly sitting up straighter. "Sometimes the most dangerous thing can save you if you understand it well enough." The alien doctors had backed away from his bed, watching him with a mixture of fear and wonder. One of them held up a medical scanner, its screen glowing red. "His radiation levels are still beyond lethal," the doctor said. "But his cells, they're adapting, becoming stronger." "Of course they are," Jia said proudly, as if she had something to do with it. "Humans don't just survive, they get stronger from survival." Duha moved closer to Ta-Jin's bed. "The Galactic Engineering Council wants to speak with you. They've never seen anything like this. And," he paused, his third eye blinking, "they want to know if you'll help write new safety protocols, ones that account for human capabilities. And human solutions," Yumgai added. His scales had taken on a slight blue tint, a sign of respect in his species. Ta-Jin looked at the resignation letters on the tablet again. "What about the engineers who quit?" "Let them go," Hainul said. I have already received 47 applications from human engineers who want to work here. Your survival story has spread across Earth's networks. Jai-yun could barely contain her excitement. Don't you see? You've changed everything. Species across the galaxy are rethinking what's possible. Ta-Jin closed his eyes for a moment. He could still feel the reactor's energy in his bones, but it didn't feel like damage anymore. It felt like change. When can I get back to work? He asked. The alien doctors all started talking at once about rest and recovery, but Duha raised his hand for silence. First, the head engineer said, "You need to teach us, all of us. How do humans do it? How do you turn deadly danger into a tool for survival?" Ta-Jin smiled, even though it hurt his burned face. "That's easy," he said. "We just never learned that it was impossible." 3 months after the reactor core explosion, the Galactic Research Institute looked very different. The once quiet facility now buzzed with activity as humans and aliens worked side by side. Ta-Jin stood in his new office, looking through the window at the training area he had helped design. "Emergency simulation starting," Haenul announced. The AI's hologram now switched between human and alien forms, representing the facility's new mixed approach. Below, a team of human and alien engineers faced a simulated reactor crisis. Instead of running away, the aliens were learning to work through the danger, guided by their human teammates. "Their response time has improved by 300%, Duha said, floating into the office. The head engineer now wore a modified human-style safety vest over his shimmering blue skin, and fear responses are down by 78%. Ta-Jin nodded. "They're learning that fear can be useful if you don't let it control you." Jai-yun burst into the office, all 4 eyes bright with excitement. She had become the facility's official species integration officer, studying how humans and aliens learned from each other. "Look at this." She held up her tablet. The Centaurians are adapting human emergency procedures to their own biology. They're calling it controlled danger exposure therapy. On the training floor, Yoon-gai was teaching a class about radiation safety. The former safety officer had changed the most. His scales now stayed steady even during emergencies. "Both human and alien safety standards have value," he told his mixed class. "The trick is knowing when to use each one." Haenul's hologram appeared in the center of the training area. Beginning advanced scenario. Multiple system failures. The human and alien teams moved together smoothly. Each species handled the tasks they were best suited for. Humans dealt with high radiation areas, while aliens managed the complex calculations needed for containment field adjustments. "It's beautiful," Jai-yun said, watching them work. 2 completely different approaches to danger working together. Ta-Jin's computer screen lit up with new messages. More facilities across the galaxy wanted to implement the Institute's training program. Some alien species were even volunteering to work with dangerous materials, something unheard of before. "We're getting another group of alien engineering students next week," Duha said, his third eye focused on the training session. They specifically requested human instructors. Through the window, they watched as the training team handled the simulated crisis. An alien engineer hesitated at the edge of a high radiation zone. Their human partner didn't push or pull them forward. Instead, they talked quietly, explaining their thinking. "That's the real breakthrough," Ta-Jin said, "not just teaching them to copy humans, but helping them understand our way of thinking." Haenul's hologram shifted to show data streams. Accident rates across the facility are down 92%. Efficiency is up 157%. The new combined human-alien protocols are proving more effective than either species' original methods. In the corner of Ta-Jin's office, a piece of twisted metal was displayed in a case. It was a fragment from the exploded reactor core, mounted like a trophy. Below it, a plaque read, "The day impossibility changed." 6 more alien species have requested to join the program, Jai-yun reported, checking her tablet. They all want to learn what they call the human perspective on danger. Duha floated closer to the window. When you survived that explosion, you didn't just save the facility. You showed us a new way to look at the universe. Tajin watched as the training team successfully completed their simulation. Humans and aliens celebrated together, no longer separated by their different approaches to danger. We still have a lot to learn from each other, he said. Humans can be too reckless sometimes. Aliens can see dangers we might miss. Together, we're better than either of us alone. Speaking of danger, Newell interrupted. The experimental fusion chamber in Section 7 is showing unusual readings. In the past, such news would have caused panic. Now, human and alien engineers simply gathered their tools, ready to face the problem together. Shall we? Tajin asked his alien colleagues. Duha's skin glowed with confidence. Lead the way, human friend. Show us more impossible things. 1 month into his job at the Galactic Research Institute, Tajin noticed something wrong with the reactor. The energy readings were slightly off. Nothing dangerous yet, but concerning. He stood in the control room, studying the numbers while Newell displayed detailed graphs in the air. The plasma containment field is showing micro-fluctuations, Newell reported. Very small, but increasing by 0.03% each day. Duha floated nearby, his blue skin reflecting the screen's light. Our systems show everything within normal parameters. Your systems are set for alien safety margins, Tajin explained. Human engineers learn to spot problems before they become big enough to trigger automatic alarms. Jayun sat in the corner, recording everything. She had barely left the facility since Tajin started showing his human approach to reactor maintenance. You can see problems that our best systems can't detect. Not better, Tajin said, pointing to a particular energy wave pattern. Just different. Humans work with dangerous things so often that we learn to notice small changes. Yoon-gai entered the control room, carrying his daily safety reports. His scales turned a worried gray when he saw everyone gathered around the screens. Is something wrong? The safety officer asked. Maybe, Tajin said honestly. The reactor core is becoming slightly unstable. We should check it now, before it gets worse. The aliens in the room all moved back a step. Even after a month, they still weren't used to how directly humans dealt with problems. Standard procedure says we need 3 days to plan a core inspection, Duha said, checking his tablet. Tajin shook his head. 3 days might be too late. The instability is growing. But the safety protocols, Yoon-gai started, will get us all killed if we follow them blindly. Tajin interrupted. He turned to Newell's hologram. Show them the projection for 3 days from now. The AI displayed a new graph. The line of energy fluctuations curved sharply upward. By our calculations, Newell said, following standard procedures gives us a 47% chance of major containment failure during the inspection. The room went quiet. Jayun's 4 eyes were wide open, all focused on Tajin. What do humans do in this situation? We fix it now, he said simply. I can go in, check the containment field generators, and adjust them before the instability grows. That's suicide. Yoon-gai's scales were almost white. The radiation levels near the generators are high for you, but manageable for me. Tajin finished. 20 minutes. That's all I need. Duha's third eye blinked rapidly as he thought. As head engineer, he had to make the final decision. The regulations don't allow for this kind of emergency inspection. Your regulations weren't written with humans in mind, Tajin said quietly. Sometimes being too careful is more dangerous than taking quick action. Jayun raised all 4 hands excitedly. This is exactly what my research shows. Humans have evolved to handle immediate dangers rather than wait for safe solutions. Tajin was already checking his radiation badge and gathering his tools. The aliens watched him, torn between their fear of breaking protocols and their growing trust in his judgment. Newell, Duha said finally, record that I am authorizing emergency maintenance procedures. Noted, the AI replied. Though I should mention that the reactor's instability has increased by 0.1% during this conversation. That got everyone moving. Gai began evacuating non-essential personnel from nearby sections, while Duha prepared the emergency systems. Jia stayed glued to her tablet, documenting everything. As Jin walked toward the reactor core access, he heard Newell's voice in his earpiece. Engineer Jin, I have been studying human emergency responses. Would you like me to adjust my safety warnings to human standards? Yes, he said, opening the heavy security door. But keep monitoring in alien safety ranges too. We need to know if. A loud alarm cut him off. The reactor's containment field had jumped another 0.5% toward instability. Time to show them how humans handle a real emergency, Jin muttered, stepping into the radiation-filled corridor. Behind him, he could hear Jia excited voice. Amazing. No signs of fear response at all. But Jin was already focused on the job ahead. He had 20 minutes to prevent a disaster, and he was going to prove that sometimes the human way was the right way.